benefit from the status quo. So before you can change them, you have to orientate them as to the reason why you want to change. You have to communicate your goals clearly to them. You have to orientate them. You have to take them through capacity building so that they will understand the reason why you want to change. Thank you.
I'm satisfied. My second question is, have you received any briefing by the Secretariat? And if you do, or if you did, what are the challenges that you will be facing head-on the very day you assume office?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The challenges are many. There's limited resources to that ministry. There's bureaucracy, corruption. There is a lot of paperwork that we need to understand why there's a lot of paperwork. And even the scarce resources that they have at the ministry is not enough. Apart from funding, the resources there are not enough for them to work. Thank you.
This is a follow-up, and it's about the bureaucracy and paperwork. Will you consider reducing paperwork at the ministries?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes.
Thank you. Last question. Have you heard the word OGP, which is Open Government Partnership Initiative?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes.
How will you ensure the effective implementation of the action plan, OGP action plan?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. You look at the indicators in the action plan, and we have 16 pillars. That comes under 4 headings. And one is transparency, one is accountability, citizen participation, and technology and innovation. Thank you.
I wish you well. Thank you.
I'm grateful.
Thank you very much. I think I will come to Chief, Minority Chief Whip. Or you will that too? Reluctantly, yes. Yeah, just one.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Congratulations, Honorable Nominee.
Thank you very much.
Honorable Nominee, I saw that you copiously made reference to the Constitution and in particular Article 190. So you gave the list of public services. I also have cited Article 191, and with the permission of the Honorable Chair. So 191B, with the permission of the Honorable Chair, if I may read, it says that a member of the public services shall not be dismissed or removed from office or reduced in rank or otherwise punished without just cause. Against this backdrop, we have a letter from the Chief of Staff asking that public servants who have gone through both clearances, both financial clearance, technical clearance, especially you having a background as a nurse, and 15,200 nurses, and other ones in Exim Bank, in NEIP, 11,000 teachers are being asked to go home without just cause.
Honorable, I think you came in late. This question has already been asked. So please go straight to...
But I'm only placing emphasis.
It's
I watched, so I know. They are not one and the same, but if Chairman thinks differently. So this is my question. Do you think that their revocation has a just cause?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I've answered the question before, and I believe that what I said was I will only be working there at the ministry as a matter of government policy. Thank you.
Okay, so Honorable Minority Chief Whip, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, let me join colleagues to congratulate our nominee, the Honorable Lydia. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I am enjoying your understanding and knowledge of the public sector. I'm enjoying it so far. My first observation is you realize that if you look at the antecedent and the evolution, pre-independence, post-independence, and even where we had military intervention in our governance system, there have been some good public sector reforms. And many of them dovetail into the implementation of the EPR, Economic Recovery Program, PAMSCAS, Structural Adjustment Program, and you have alluded to all of these. What, in your estimation, is the missing link so far? The missing link in terms of our drive as a nation to reform our public sector?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A number of them, I'm just going to mention one. One of them is political will. As a country, we should have a dialogue so that whatever plan we have, for example, the NAP5, National Action Plan, if successive government will continue from where one starts, I believe it will help us. And we cannot just do that if we begin to think that this is Party A and Party B. We should have a national dialogue, a national plan that whoever comes to the ministry will continue from where the other one have started. Well, I can see with the little briefing that I've had from the ministry that because of lack of political will, some people are employed due to favoritism and nepotism. And some people are also there who are not supposed to be there. Thank you very much.
You spoke to dialogue. Government that have come and gone. The holding of a dialogue has always been a prominent feature. It has always been a prominent feature. So if you are speaking to dialogue as, want of a better expression, a challenge, what do you really mean? And what do you intend to do differently in the context of dialoguing?
Thank you very much. In the context of dialoguing, I want to employ all sectors of all agencies of the sectors so that we can sit down and find out the missing link. 2, government alone cannot do the reforms. We need the private sector to be part and parcel as a stakeholder for public sector reforms. Thank you.
Honorable Nominee, you do know, as I also do, that your policy of 24-hour economy is become very popular. Indeed popular. So, but I had then candidates, John Dramani Mahama, then candidate, who said that the 24-hour economy is optional. It's an optional policy to do or not to do. In that context, also carrying into the future that you are going to, as you define public sector reform, efficiency, effectiveness, digitalization, etc. What will be the relevance of your 24-hour economy, and how do you intend to buy into this?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The 24-hour economy, His Excellency said to do or not to do, is becoming his policy. Wherever his policy direction is, I will simply follow that policy direction. If he's going to do the 24-hour economy, it will do us good. Me and you know that we are going to employ people in the security services who will take care of us when we will take care of businesses in the night. I know you are going to tell me that, oh, we have a lot of security personnel, but if we add more, it will help us. As to whether he will do or he will not do, it's a government policy. Like you people had in your manifesto the last time, one village, one dam, one district, one factory. It was your campaign message, it was your policy. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, sorry.
Honourable Nominee, I think we should watch some of the words. You people, it's unparliamentary. Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Chair. I withdraw that.
Please, Honourable, please.
Honourable Nominee, I think you are forgiven. Colleagues have forgiven you. In one of your statements, you said if, and you premised your statement that if the President, His Excellency, will implement the 24-hour economy. I find that very questionable, because I know His Excellency has appointed a substantive officer at the Presidency who is in charge of the 24-hour economy. So the question of if doesn't come in at all. Is it the case that you are not aware, or you are not sure the 24-hour economy will work? Which is which?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. In your submission, your first submission, you mentioned that the President said to do or not to do. So that if that I used was premised on to do or not to do. Thank you.
She defined public sector reform earlier. You recall you defined that, do you? Do you recall you defined public sector reform? Please answer.
Yes, please.
And so, based on your own definition of public sector reform, are you able to apprise us, and you have received some due briefing from your ministry, some of the important interventions by the previous administration, which you had already agreed that, given the nod, you are going to ensure continuation and sustenance? Would you be glad to run us through some of them that you find important and should be sustained going forward?
Thank you very much. What I'm going to mention is captured in the National Action Plan 4 and is co-created with the National Action Plan 5. Those were the achievements in the public sector when it was being overseen by the senior minister, Honorable Osofo Maafo. I recall during the briefing, I heard there was some activities that was done with the passport office, DVLA, births and deaths, just to mention a few. And again, in legal terms, some laws were also passed, some acts were also passed during the implementation of the NAP4. So I think I've seen a couple of things that has been done. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'm just rounding up on my questions. I'm rounding up. The advocacy on anti-corruption, apart from the effectiveness, efficiency in the public sector that we've all been desirous of seeing, the call on anti-corruption is important. We have OSP, we have Attorney General, yet, the fight seems quite suspect. Going into this office, what are you bringing to the table towards the march fighting corruption in our country? What specific interventions would you want to undertake for you to be remembered for?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Some of the interventions I mentioned earlier is about the use of technology and innovation. 2 is about engagement. 3 is about capacity building of the employees or service providers. Thank you.
The success of our public sector reform interventions also depend on how we relate to the private sector. Do you agree to that?
Yes.
So, if you do agree, what interventions should we engage in to strengthen the dialogue between our public sector reform? Because if we reform our public sector and it doesn't cascade into our private sector reformation, it will be lopsided. So is it the case that you are not looking at it from just one angle? You're also looking at how the private sector and the public sector can both marry effectively?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Earlier on, I mentioned that the public sector cannot be reformed without engaging the private sector. So there should be an engagement between the public sector and the private sector. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, this will be my last one. Honorable Lydia, a number of interventions have started by the previous administrations, including His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, His Excellency Atamis. They all did something. They intervened one way or the other. So, with the benefit of hindsight, in terms of policy and legislation, specific to this policy and legislation, what will you do differently?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. What I will do differently is to employ technology, innovation too, and then to engage with all the sectors.
Thank you very much, Leader. I will now engage Honorable Achampon on the 217. Same.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for coming back to me. Honorable Leader, congratulations.
Thank you.
I have a quick intervention. We live in a country where every worker or government employee is asking for better conditions of service. But nobody is talking about productivity. Do you have any plans to reorient the working class so that they will give out their best increase productivity so that they also get their share of the profitability that will be generated from their work.
Yes.
Thank you. Now I will let Honorable Roxanne, and then I'll come. Yeah, you're done. Yes, he just asked a question. Yeah, Honorable Roxanne, please.
Chairman, thank you. My wife.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you.
And congratulations to you. I am certain that our children are watching you from nearby, and they are happy about your performance. I have no doubt you will succeed. Thank you. Now, public sector reforms. It took on this name from about 2005. But from between the middle of the 80s to the 90s, there have been major reforms in our public sector. And so by 2005, when President Kufuor was about to end his first term, as part of the African peer review mechanisms, an office ought to be created under the aegis of the then senior minister, if you recall. And so concrete, deliberate government policies were channeled or were implemented via that office. Now, we've had reforms and within the educational subsector. Today, university admissions are mostly online. When we were entering a university, you had to purchase the form and fill and submit. Today, it's no longer so. Admissions are communicated via cyberspace. When you pass your West African exams, West African Examination Council exams, you can access your results online. And when you are qualified to progress, GES has rolled out a platform called School Placement. And so you no longer travel to your school to ask your headmaster to admit you. You were placed, and then you only go for your admissions. Now, you no longer go to notice board to check whether you've been admitted or not. Land administration, major reforms. I recall championed by my own professor, Professor Kwame Jan, led the major land reforms. Land transactions are generally becoming smoother now, even though we still have bottlenecks. The judiciary. Today, court processes are filed online. Judgments are delivered via online. Or lawyers receive court judgments online. As part of our rules of procedure today, a defendant or a party to a case can be served online. Those are major reforms. In fact, as part of the first phase of the reforms, when the computerization project was introduced in the 90s, it led to the construction of the modern court complex in Accra under Professor Mills. Major reforms. And just a couple of months ago, the immediate past government was running or had an office for public sector reforms and had a project for reforms for performance. And it was led by the then senior minister, then senior presidential advisor on these matters. So, but the secretariat is there, they are operating. And our National program between 2018 and 2023, the 5-year program is ended. We need a new action plan. Will you consider finalizing that this year under your aegis so that we can have focused and improved sector reforms, especially even Parliament? We are about to go online. Consuls have been provided. Members of Parliament now can read proceedings on their consoles, correct votes and proceedings online. And statements of colleagues can also be posted online for members to comment on, so that this can be further improved. Because for me, in the public sector, the only constant is positive reforms. Will you consider doing that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes. The NAP 4 is ending in June, and the NAP 3, the NAP 5 has already started. It's supposed to start this February. So by the end of December, or at the end of the year, we are supposed to assess the implementation of the NAP 5. And it's one of the briefs that I had from the Secretariat.
Good. One other area within our public subsector that I think also will need your attention in terms of policy implementation is our BEPS and DEPS registry. I think you should consider rolling out a program where BEPS are captured contemporaneously, records of childbirth. They are captured and certificates are produced contemporaneously. You don't have to go for weeks and months before you get the certificate for the birth of your child. So should be DEPS. So that in our hinterlands, with an app, when the event occurs, it's entered, it's registered online, and a certificate online is generated. So this pension for people for amending birth certificates or date of births to cheat the system will stop. I believe if you do that, it will generate revenue, it will bring sanity, it will bring major reforms in that subsector. Because you recall, the issue of birth certificate became a subject of a Supreme Court matter for which there's an existing decision. Will you consider doing that for us?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes. And if you look at it currently, you can register your health insurance online. So it can be done. Thank you.
And finally, will you consider introducing some reforms in our school feeding program so that we can monitor how the implementation of that program is impacting the schools? Because as a member of the Public Accounts Committee, a lot of issues have been raised regarding the actual impacts on our children in the schools. So that, for instance, where a caterer is supposed to provide meals to the DA primary school in Todome, in South Dine, a simple app should be able to tell that, yes, today, Monday, the caterer did provide meals and of a certain quality to the children. It will cut the issues of caterers being given money to provide food, and yet they don't provide the right quantities, the right quality. The app will be a monitoring mechanism for circuit supervisors to tell whether this is a social intervention program is being delivered as intended by government or not?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes. If we are able to provide the infrastructure that will help us to monitor the school feeding and other things, it will go a long way to bring accountability and transparency in the system. Thank you.
Finally, the other area I want you to consider reforming is again within schools, but the secondary school subsector. Feeding by or provision of food items to our secondary schools. It's a major focus of the Auditor General. And within the past couple of years, he's flagged in many schools, because the center may direct that, for instance, Peking Secondary School should be provided with 100 bags of rice. The supplier ends up providing 60 bags of rice. Because they need the food, they are unable to reject. They hope that the shortfall of 40 bags will come. It never comes. But if you roll out some reforms in terms of an app to monitor, to track when these food items are supplied, we can check that the correct quantities are supplied and on time, and also the quality. You must have heard recently that there were issues raised by the Auditor General regarding some expired food items provided to some schools. This reform that I'm asking you to consider implementing will also check that the quality of the food, the items, the efficacy, everything, manufactured, everything will be checked, so we can have an instantaneous way of determining if anybody will want to cheat the system. You consider reviewing that system for us, won't you?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As I said earlier, I will work with the communication minister so that we provide the infrastructure that can do that for us. Thank you.
Chairman, on this note, I want to wish my wife all the best. I thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Chief. I will now come to my left again and engage Honorable Patricia. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Chairman, I hear I'm supposed to call my wife in quotes.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairman. Honorable Lydia, adding my voice to the numerous people who have congratulated you